The Christ Oil Mysteries, written and published by Ngasline. Throughout human history, mystics and spiritual seekers have spoken of a sacred substance, a divine elixir that flows within the human body. This mysterious fluid, known by various names across different traditions, has been called the Christ oil, sacred secretion, or divine nectar. Modern science has begun to unveil the biological reality behind these ancient teachings, revealing the profound connection between our nervous system and spiritual experiences. The concept of neural alchemy represents the intersection of biological processes and spiritual transformation. At its core lies the understanding that our physical body, particularly our nervous system, contains the machinery necessary for profound spiritual experiences and higher states of consciousness. This is not merely metaphorical. It is rooted in the actual physiology of our brain and spinal cord. The human nervous system is an incredibly sophisticated network of cells and chemicals that orchestrates every aspect of our existence. Within this system, certain fluids and processes have been revered by ancient traditions as the physical basis for spiritual awakening. The cerebrospinal fluid, which bathes and nourishes our brain and spinal cord, holds particular significance in this context. This crystal-clear fluid was known to ancient mystics who recognized its vital role in consciousness expansion and spiritual development. Historical records from various cultures contain encrypted references to this sacred process. From the Egyptian mysteries to Vedic teachings, from biblical allegories to Chinese internal alchemy, we find consistent patterns describing the transformation of physical substances into spiritual energy. These teachings were often veiled in metaphor and symbol, protecting profound truths from misuse while preserving them for those ready to understand. The bridge between science and spirituality becomes evident when we examine the precise locations and processes described in ancient texts. The pineal gland, dubbed the seat of the soul by Descartes, contains light-sensitive cells similar to those in our retinas. The pituitary gland, known as the master gland, orchestrates our entire endocrine system. The mysterious claustrum, a thin sheet of neurons, has been linked to consciousness itself. These structures, known to modern science, correspond remarkably with the sacred centers described in ancient spiritual texts. Neural alchemy represents a practical pathway to spiritual development, grounded in the actual physiology of our nervous system. It explains how specific practices, including meditation, breathing exercises, and energy work, can activate natural processes within our body that lead to higher states of consciousness. This is not about believing in abstract concepts, but about understanding and working with our own biological systems in alignment with universal principles. The significance of neural alchemy extends beyond individual transformation. As humanity faces unprecedented challenges, the integration of scientific understanding with spiritual wisdom becomes increasingly crucial. This synthesis offers practical solutions for personal development while providing a framework for understanding the deeper purpose of human evolution. The mysteries of the Christ oil reveal that our bodies are indeed temples, containing all the elements necessary for spiritual awakening. The ancient teachings, when decoded through the lens of modern science, provide a comprehensive map for human transformation. This knowledge bridges the artificial divide between science and spirituality, showing that they are complementary aspects of a greater truth. Through understanding these mysteries, we discover that the path to enlightenment is not separate from our physical existence, but is intimately connected with it. The transformation of consciousness, long described by spiritual traditions, has a biological basis that we can understand and work with consciously. This understanding opens new possibilities for human development and evolution, grounded in both scientific precision and spiritual wisdom. Foundations of Sacred Anatomy. The human body houses an intricate system of spiritual technology that ancient mystics and modern scientists are only beginning to comprehend. At the core of this sacred anatomy lies the human brain, not merely as an organ of thought and consciousness, but as hallowed ground where divine alchemy unfolds. This chapter explores the foundational elements of our sacred anatomy and introduces the key structures involved in spiritual transformation. The brain exists as far more than a collection of neurons and synapses. Within its folds and chambers flows the cerebrospinal fluid, a crystalline substance that serves as the physical medium for spiritual energies. This sacred fluid bathes the entire central nervous system, creating a continuous field of subtle energy that connects every aspect of our being. Ancient texts refer to this fluid through various metaphors: the waters of life, the divine nectar, the oil of gladness, recognizing its crucial role in spiritual awakening. 3 primary centers form the cornerstone of neural alchemy: the claustrum, the pineal gland, and the pituitary gland. The claustrum, a thin sheet of neurons hidden within the brain's white matter, acts as a cosmic antenna and processing center. This mysterious structure coordinates activity across different brain regions and may serve as a gateway between physical and spiritual realms. Modern neuroscience has dubbed it the conductor of consciousness, though its deeper esoteric functions remain largely unexplored. The pineal gland, often called the third eye or seat of the soul, produces vital hormones and coordinates our biological rhythms. This pinecone-shaped organ contains light-sensitive cells, similar to those in our retinas, and produces melatonin, the hormone of darkness and regeneration. Esoteric traditions worldwide recognize the pineal as a bridge between worlds, capable of perceiving spiritual realities beyond ordinary consciousness. When activated through specific practices, the pineal begins producing elevated forms of melatonin and other neurochemicals that facilitate expanded awareness. Working in concert with the pineal is the pituitary gland, the master endocrine gland that regulates numerous bodily functions. Ancient wisdom traditions symbolically associate the pituitary with the divine feminine, while linking the pineal with the divine masculine. The dynamic interplay between these glands generates the sacred fluids and energies necessary for spiritual transformation. The pituitary releases hormones that influence everything from growth to reproduction to metabolism, making it crucial for both physical and spiritual development. These 3 centers, claustrum, pineal, and pituitary, form a trinity of transformation within the brain. Their precise arrangement and interaction create the conditions necessary for producing and circulating the Christ oil, the sacred substance of illumination. Understanding their roles and relationships provides the foundation for working with these energies consciously. The brain's ventricles, fluid-filled chambers that produce and circulate cerebrospinal fluid, create a specialized environment for these alchemical processes. These sacred spaces parallel the temples and holy places of external traditions. Just as temples are designed to focus and amplify spiritual energies, the brain's anatomy creates the perfect conditions for inner transformation. This sacred anatomy represents the marriage of heaven and earth within our own bodies. The physical structures provide the vessel, while subtle energies provide the transformative power. Ancient traditions encoded this knowledge in symbol and metaphor, while modern science now confirms many aspects of these anatomical relationships. By understanding this foundation, we can begin working more consciously with these inner technologies of transformation. Our exploration of neural alchemy begins with recognizing and honoring these sacred structures within. They represent the divine architecture through which higher consciousness manifests in human form. As we proceed, we'll examine how these centers activate and interact to produce profound changes in consciousness and being. Sacred fluid, the divine elixir. The sacred fluid, often referred to as Christ oil or the divine elixir, represents one of the most profound mysteries of spiritual transformation within the human body. This extraordinary substance begins its alchemical journey in the claustrum, a thin, irregular sheet of neurons located beneath the brain's neocortex. The claustrum serves as nature's hidden laboratory, orchestrating a remarkable process that ancient mystics and modern scientists are only beginning to understand. The production of this sacred fluid follows precise cosmic rhythms, particularly the lunar-solar alignments that influence our physiological processes. During specific phases of the moon, especially the 3 days surrounding the full moon, the claustrum exhibits heightened activity. This increased activation correlates with elevated levels of cerebrospinal fluid production and the release of specialized neurochemicals that form the basis of the Christ oil. The composition of this divine elixir is unlike any other substance in the human body. It contains trace elements of gold and phosphorus, along with unique proteins and peptides that science has yet to fully classify. When produced under optimal conditions, this fluid takes on a golden hue and demonstrates unusual properties, including a subtle luminescence that ancient texts often described as the light of consciousness. The claustrum's role extends beyond mere fluid production. It acts as a consciousness integration center, harmonizing information from various brain regions. This integration process is crucial for the transformation of base neural energy into refined spiritual essence. The sacred fluid produced here carries specific electromagnetic signatures that resonate with higher frequencies of consciousness, facilitating expanded states of awareness and spiritual perception. During the production cycle, the fluid undergoes several phases of refinement. The initial phase involves the concentration of specific minerals and compounds from the bloodstream. These elements are then subjected to an electrochemical process within the claustrum's specialized cells, where they are transformed through a sequence of subtle energy exchanges. This process is enhanced during periods of deep meditation, when the brain's electrical activity shifts into slower, more coherent patterns. The properties of Christ oil are remarkable in their scope. Beyond its physical characteristics, this fluid demonstrates the ability to conduct and amplify subtle energies throughout the nervous system. It serves as a superconductor for consciousness, facilitating communication between the physical and spiritual dimensions of human experience. When activated, it can induce states of expanded awareness, accelerate healing processes, and catalyze spiritual awakening. The fluid's movement through the body follows specific pathways that ancient traditions mapped with remarkable accuracy. From the claustrum, it descends through the brainstem and into the spinal column, where it interacts with the cerebrospinal fluid system. This interaction creates a dynamic field of energy that ancient texts described as the river of life. The preservation and cultivation of this sacred fluid requires specific lifestyle practices. These include maintaining proper spinal alignment, engaging in regular meditation, following dietary guidelines that support optimal neural function, and observing periods of sexual continence to conserve vital energy. The combination of these practices creates the ideal conditions for the claustrum to perform its alchemical work. Understanding the nature of this divine elixir provides a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience. It explains many of the metaphysical experiences reported by mystics throughout history, while offering a scientific framework for comprehending the physiological basis of spiritual transformation. The Christ oil represents the physical manifestation of humanity's highest potential, a tangible link between our material existence and our spiritual essence. Glandular alchemy. The intricate dance between the pituitary and pineal glands represents one of the most profound mysteries in neural alchemy. These master glands, symbolically represented as Mary and Joseph in esoteric traditions, orchestrate a sublime biochemical symphony that ultimately leads to spiritual awakening and transformation. The pituitary gland, often called the master gland or symbolically referred to as Mary, governs our entire endocrine system. Located in a small bony cavity at the base of the brain, this pea-sized powerhouse produces hormones that regulate growth, metabolism, reproduction, and stress response. In the context of neural alchemy, the pituitary represents the feminine principle, the nurturing, sustaining force that maintains bodily harmony and prepares the system for higher transformation. Working in concert with the pituitary is the pineal gland, symbolically known as Joseph, which ancient traditions revered as the seat of the soul. This tiny pine cone-shaped organ produces melatonin and other powerful compounds that regulate our circadian rhythms and affect consciousness. The pineal represents the masculine principle in neural alchemy, the activating, illuminating force that triggers spiritual awakening. When these glands work in perfect harmony, they initiate a process of hormonal transformation that affects every cell in the body, This alchemical process begins with the production of specialized compounds that are far more refined than ordinary hormones. These substances possess unique properties that facilitate the transformation of gross physical matter into more subtle spiritual essences. The cosmic forces play a crucial role in this glandular alchemy. The pineal gland is especially sensitive to light and electromagnetic fields, responding to both solar and lunar cycles. During specific astronomical alignments, the pineal's activity intensifies, producing elevated levels of transformative compounds. The pituitary responds to these signals by releasing its own specialized hormones, creating a cascade of biochemical changes throughout the body. This glandular interaction creates what the ancients called the sacred marriage, the union of opposite yet complementary forces within the brain. When the energies of both glands merge, they generate a third force, the Christ oil or sacred fluid that gradually accumulates in the ventricles of the brain. This fluid possesses extraordinary properties that transcend ordinary biochemistry, serving as a bridge between physical and spiritual realms. The transformative process intensifies as these glandular secretions begin to affect the nervous system. New neural pathways form, existing circuits are refined, and the brain's electromagnetic field becomes more coherent. This enhanced neural organization allows for expanded states of consciousness and the activation of dormant spiritual faculties. The hormonal transformations also affect the body at a cellular level. The refined substances produced through this alchemical process gradually alter the very structure of cells, making them more responsive to subtle spiritual energies. This cellular transformation is necessary for the body to handle the increased vibratory rates associated with higher consciousness. Understanding this glandular alchemy provides practical insights for spiritual development. Certain practices can support and enhance these natural processes. Maintaining regular sleep patterns honors the pineal's light-sensitive nature. Mindful breathing and meditation techniques can stimulate pituitary function. Proper nutrition, especially foods rich in specific minerals and amino acids, provides the raw materials needed for hormonal production. The Mary Joseph connection reminds us that spiritual transformation requires the balanced activation of both masculine and feminine principles within our own biology. This sacred union within the brain creates the conditions necessary for the birth of Christ consciousness, the awakening of our highest spiritual potential through the medium of our own transformed nervous system. The spinal pathway. The human spine represents far more than just a structural support system. It serves as a sacred ladder of consciousness through which the Christ oil flows in its transformative journey. This intricate pathway consists of 33 vertebral segments, each corresponding to specific spiritual gateways that must be activated in sequence for complete spiritual awakening. The spinal column houses two primary energetic channels known as Ida and Pingala in ancient wisdom traditions. These channels weave around the central spinal cord in a double helix pattern, mirroring the structure of DNA itself. The Ida channel represents lunar feminine energy flowing downward from the left nostril, while Pingala carries solar masculine energy upward from the right nostril. These channels serve as conduits for the refined Christ oil as it circulates through the body's subtle anatomy. The 33 vertebral gates hold profound significance as they mirror Jesus Christ's 33 years of life on earth, a connection that is far from coincidental. Each vertebra acts as a transformer, stepping down higher frequencies into forms that can be integrated by the physical body. The sacrum, or sacred bone, contains the initial reservoirs of the Christ oil, which begins its ascent through each successive vertebral gate when activated through specific spiritual practices and states of consciousness. The energy flow patterns through the spine follow precise mathematical and geometric principles. As the Christ oil rises, it moves in a spiraling pattern, creating electromagnetic vortices at key points along the spine. These vortices correspond to the major chakra centers and serve to purify and transform the sacred fluid as it ascends. The movement isn't simply linear. It follows complex wave patterns that facilitate the gradual refinement of consciousness. The spinal activation sequence must follow a specific order for proper awakening to occur. Beginning at the base of the spine in the sacrum, the Christ oil is gradually awakened and drawn upward through each vertebral segment. This process requires tremendous precision and cannot be rushed, as premature activation can lead to energetic imbalances. Each vertebral gate must be fully opened and stabilized before progression to the next level can safely occur. The relationship between the spine and consciousness is intimately connected to breathing patterns. Specific breathing techniques help to regulate the flow of energy through Ida and Pingala, creating the optimal conditions for the Christ oil to rise. The breath serves as a pump that helps move this sacred fluid upward against the downward pull of gravitational forces. The spinal pathway also contains specialized tissues that act as superconductors for consciousness. These tissues become increasingly refined as spiritual practice progresses, allowing for greater quantities of the Christ oil to flow upward. The myelin sheaths surrounding the spinal nerves play a crucial role in this process, becoming more crystalline in structure as higher frequencies are sustained. Understanding and working with the spinal pathway requires great reverence and patience. This sacred anatomy represents the bridge between matter and spirit, the ladder upon which human consciousness can ascend to higher dimensional awareness. Through dedicated practice and proper understanding of these spinal mysteries, practitioners can facilitate the safe and systematic rise of the Christ oil through all 33 vertebral gates, ultimately achieving the state of enlightened consciousness that Jesus demonstrated in his own life and teachings. The spinal pathway thus serves as a living laboratory for spiritual transformation, where the alchemy of consciousness occurs through the precise interaction of biological and subtle energy systems. It is through this pathway that the promise of Christ consciousness becomes a tangible reality, accessible to those who approach these mysteries with proper understanding and devotion. Sacral mysteries. The sacrum, a triangular bone at the base of the spine, holds profound significance in the mystical traditions of neural alchemy. This sacred gateway serves as the foundation for the transformative process that occurs during spiritual awakening. The 3-day transformation, a phenomenon deeply rooted in esoteric teachings, represents the journey of consciousness through the sacral region. The sacrum contains 4 pairs of anterior sacral foramina and 4 pairs of posterior sacral foramina, creating channels for nerve roots and vessels that facilitate energy movement throughout the body. These openings act as energetic portals, allowing the flow of spiritual essence to circulate and ascend. The sacred bone's unique structure creates a natural vortex of energy, drawing in cosmic forces and transmuting them into higher vibrational frequencies. Within the sacral cavity lies a complex network of nerve plexuses that form energy vortexes. These vortexes act as transformational centers, where physical matter begins its alchemical journey toward spiritual essence. The sacral plexus, in particular, plays a crucial role in this process, serving as a primary collection point for the Christ oil before its ascension through the spinal column. The 3-day transformation refers to the period when the sacred oils gather in the sacral region before beginning their ascent. This process mirrors various spiritual traditions, including the 3 days between crucifixion and resurrection in Christian mythology. During this phase, the physical body undergoes subtle yet profound changes as the sacred fluids accumulate and prepare for their upward journey. The alchemical processes occurring within the sacral region involve the transformation of base elements into higher spiritual substances. This metamorphosis begins with the cerebrospinal fluid, which undergoes a series of chemical and energetic changes as it interacts with the sacred bone's unique electromagnetic field. The sacrum's curved structure creates a natural reservoir where these transformative processes can occur undisturbed. Ancient wisdom traditions recognize the sacrum as a power center, often depicting it in sacred art and architecture. The triangular shape of the sacrum represents the trinity of creation, preservation, and transformation. This sacred geometry facilitates the conversion of physical energy into spiritual power, establishing a bridge between the material and divine realms. The sacral vortexes generate specific vibrational frequencies that resonate with higher dimensional energies. These frequencies activate dormant genetic codes within our DNA, initiating a process of cellular regeneration and spiritual awakening. The interaction between these vortexes and the Christ oil creates a powerful alchemical reaction that catalyzes consciousness evolution. Understanding the sacral mysteries requires deep contemplation of both physical anatomy and spiritual symbolism. The sacrum's position at the base of the spine places it at the foundation of our energetic system, making it crucial for both physical stability and spiritual ascension. This sacred bone serves as the launching pad for the Kundalini energy, which, when awakened, begins its journey upward through the spinal column. The transformative power of the sacral region extends beyond physical boundaries, influencing our emotional and spiritual well-being. The sacred fluids that gather here carry codes of divine consciousness, waiting to be activated through dedicated spiritual practice and inner awareness. As these oils begin their ascent, they trigger a cascade of transformative experiences that gradually unveil our higher spiritual potential. The mystery of the sacrum reveals itself through patient observation and dedicated practice. Its role in spiritual transformation cannot be understated, as it provides the foundation for the entire alchemical process of consciousness evolution. Through understanding and working with these sacred energies, practitioners can facilitate their own spiritual awakening and contribute to the collective evolution of human consciousness. The Kundalini connection. The sacred preservation of cerebrospinal fluid and its relationship to Kundalini awakening represents one of the most profound aspects of neural alchemy. This vital connection between the physical and spiritual realms manifests through the transformation of matter into higher vibrational energy, ultimately leading to expanded states of consciousness. The preservation of cerebrospinal fluid serves as the foundation for spiritual awakening. This precious fluid, often referred to as the Christ oil, must be protected and cultivated through specific practices and lifestyle choices. When this sacred substance is properly maintained, it creates the optimal conditions for the dormant Kundalini energy to awaken. The process begins at the base of the spine, where the serpentine force lies coiled, waiting to be activated through dedicated spiritual practice and divine timing. As the Kundalini force awakens, it initiates a profound transformation of physical matter into spiritual energy. This process occurs through a series of vibrational shifts that affect the entire nervous system. The cerebrospinal fluid acts as a conductor for this heightened energy, allowing it to flow freely through the spinal column and into the higher centers of consciousness. The preserved Christ oil provides the necessary medium for this alchemical transformation, facilitating the conversion of dense physical energy into refined spiritual essence. The management of this awakened energy requires careful attention and practice. As the Kundalini rises, it activates each energy center along the spine, clearing blockages and purifying the neural pathways. This process must be approached with reverence and understanding, as the power of the awakened serpent force can be overwhelming if not properly directed. The preserved cerebrospinal fluid acts as a buffer and regulator, helping to maintain balance as these powerful energies move through the system. When the Kundalini reaches the higher centers in the brain, it triggers a series of profound transformations. The preserved Christ oil in these regions becomes activated, leading to enhanced perception and expanded awareness. This process influences the pineal and pituitary glands, stimulating the production of higher-frequency hormones and neurotransmitters that support spiritual awakening. The relationship between Kundalini activation and the Christ oil creates a self-sustaining cycle of transformation. As the serpent force rises, it enhances the quality and quantity of cerebrospinal fluid production. This enriched fluid, in turn, provides better conditions for continued Kundalini activation and spiritual development. This cyclical process represents the eternal dance between matter and spirit, demonstrating the intimate connection between physical substance and spiritual energy. The preservation and activation of these sacred energies require specific practices and lifestyle choices. Regular meditation, mindful breathing exercises, and proper spinal alignment help maintain the integrity of the cerebrospinal fluid while supporting healthy Kundalini activation. Additionally, practices that promote emotional balance and mental clarity create the optimal conditions for this transformative process. Understanding the Kundalini connection reveals the deeper purpose of neural alchemy. It shows how the physical body serves as a vessel for spiritual transformation, with the Christ oil acting as the medium through which higher consciousness manifests. This sacred process of awakening and transformation represents the ultimate goal of spiritual practice, the union of matter and spirit leading to enlightened awareness and divine realization. The preservation of sacred fluid, awakening of Kundalini energy, and transformation of matter into spirit form, the cornerstone of neural alchemy. Through careful attention to these processes, practitioners can facilitate their own spiritual evolution while maintaining balance and harmony in body, mind, and spirit. This ancient wisdom, when properly understood and applied, opens the door to higher states of consciousness and spiritual illumination. Biblical parallels, the living metaphor. The life of Jesus Christ, as recorded in biblical texts, serves as a profound metaphorical roadmap of the neural alchemical process occurring within the human body. This parallel becomes apparent when we examine the key events of Jesus' life through the lens of sacred anatomy and neural transformation. The virgin birth represents the awakening of the pristine consciousness within the claustrum, often called the virgin point in esoteric traditions. This immaculate conception occurs when the higher frequency of cosmic energy first makes contact with the sacred centers of the brain. Mary, symbolizing the pituitary gland, receives this divine announcement through the angel Gabriel, representing the highest vibration of spiritual energy entering the human system. The life of Jesus from birth to age 12 corresponds to the initial stages of neural development and spiritual awakening. The temple incident at age 12, where Jesus discusses with the teachers, symbolizes the first major activation of the 12 cranial nerves. This marks the beginning of higher consciousness, stirring within the sacred chambers of the brain. The baptism in the Jordan River represents the initial flow of cerebrospinal fluid down the spinal column. John the Baptist symbolizes the medulla oblongata, the gateway where the brain connects to the spinal cord. This baptism initiates the process of purification and transformation within the nervous system. The descent of the dove represents the descent of higher frequencies into the physical body through the crown chakra. The 40 days in the wilderness correspond to the period of internal purification and transformation, as the sacred oils begin their alchemical work throughout the nervous system. The temptations Jesus faced represent the challenges of maintaining this higher frequency against the pull of lower material desires and earthly attachments. The 3 years of ministry symbolize the 3 major phases of neural transformation. During this time, the miracles performed by Jesus represent the activation of various supernatural abilities as the Christ oil awakens dormant brain centers. The healing miracles specifically correspond to the regenerative properties of the sacred fluids as they restore and rejuvenate the body's systems. The transfiguration on the mount represents the illumination of the claustrum, when the sacred oils reach their highest potency and literally transform the appearance of the initiate through cellular light emission. Peter, James, and John represent the 3 primary glands, pineal, pituitary, and claustrum, all activated and working in harmony. The crucifixion represents the complete surrender of lower nature and the final transformation of matter into spirit. The 3 days in the tomb correspond to the 3-day alchemical process where the sacred oils perform their highest work in the skull cavity or upper room. The resurrection represents the completion of the transformation process, where the physical body becomes fully light, activated and capable of manifestation and demanifestation at will. The Ascension represents the final stage of complete mastery over matter, where consciousness can freely move between physical and spiritual dimensions. This process demonstrates the ultimate potential of neural alchemy, the transformation of the human body into a light body through the action of the Christ oil. These biblical parallels are not mere coincidence, but represent a carefully encoded system of spiritual biological transformation. The writers of the Gospels were initiates who understood these processes and preserved them in story form for future generations. When we understand these parallels, the life of Jesus becomes not just a historical or religious account, but a practical manual for human transformation, with each event corresponding to specific processes occurring in our own sacred anatomy. The vagus nerve mystery. The vagus nerve, often called the wandering nerve, holds profound significance in the mysteries of spiritual transformation and neural alchemy. This remarkable nervous system pathway serves as the primary connection between our higher consciousness and physical vessel, creating a bridge between heaven and earth within our own biology. The sacred texts speak of crucifixion not merely as a historical event, but as an encoded message about the transformative process that occurs along this neural pathway. The vagus nerve contains precise points of intersection that correspond to significant stages of spiritual awakening. These neural crucifixion points occur where the vagus nerve interfaces with major organs and energy centers in the body. When activated through specific practices, these points trigger cascading effects throughout the nervous system that facilitate the transformation of consciousness. The process mirrors the symbolic death and resurrection narrative, as old patterns of consciousness must die for new awareness to emerge. The significance of age 33 in spiritual traditions relates directly to the completion of this neural maturation process. At this stage of development, the myelin sheathing around nerve fibers reaches optimal conductivity, allowing for enhanced transmission of both electrical and subtle energy signals. This biological milestone creates the conditions necessary for higher states of consciousness to manifest through the nervous system. The historical attribution of spiritual mastery to age 33 reflects this natural process of neural development and its relationship to expanded awareness. The vagus nerve's integration with the entire nervous system creates a comprehensive network for consciousness transformation. Through its extensive connections, it influences heart rate, breathing, digestions, and emotional processing, all vital aspects of the mind-body-spirit interface. The nerve's ability to shift between sympathetic and parasympathetic states allows for the precise regulation needed during spiritual practices and energy work. This capacity for neural regulation provides the foundation for sustainable transformation rather than temporary altered states. Ancient spiritual practices often targeted vagus nerve activation, though this understanding was couched in metaphorical language. Breathing techniques, meditation postures, and sacred sounds all influence vagal tone and function. Modern research has validated these traditional practices, showing how vagal stimulation influences brain chemistry, immune function, and states of consciousness. The mystery school's emphasis on specific practices now reveals their sophisticated understanding of this neural pathway's role in transformation. The vagus nerve's dual nature, ascending and descending pathways, creates a circuit for the circulation of subtle energies. This mirrors esoteric teachings about the union of opposing forces required for spiritual awakening. The upward flow carries purified energy to the brain centers, while the downward flow distributes transformed consciousness throughout the body. This continuous circulation gradually alters the body's cellular memory and energy patterns. Working with the vagus nerve requires understanding its sensitivity to both physical and energetic influences. Gentle stimulation through sound, touch, breath, and movement creates the optimal conditions for transformation. Forced or aggressive approaches can trigger protective responses that inhibit the process. The mystery traditions emphasized patient, consistent practice that honors the natural timing of neural adaptation and spiritual unfoldment. The vagus nerve represents a living connection to higher consciousness within our own anatomy. Its extensive influence on physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being makes it central to the alchemy of transformation. Understanding its role helps bridge ancient wisdom with modern science, revealing the biological basis for spiritual practices. Through conscious engagement with this neural pathway, we can facilitate the natural process of awakening encoded in our sacred anatomy. Cranial awakening. The human cranium houses perhaps the most profound mysteries of spiritual transformation, serving as the sacred vessel for the highest aspects of consciousness. Ancient mystics and modern researchers alike have recognized the skull as more than just a protective housing for the brain. It is truly the upper room where the final stages of neural alchemy unfold. The 12 cranial nerves form an intricate network that connects our sensory awareness to deeper states of being. Like 12 disciples gathered in sacred assembly, these neural pathways serve distinct yet interconnected functions in expanding consciousness. The first cranial nerve, responsible for our sense of smell, links directly to the limbic system and ancient memory centers. This represents our most primitive neural connection to altered states, as evidenced by the use of sacred oils and incense in spiritual ceremonies across cultures. Moving through the sequence, we encounter the optic nerve governing vision, which extends from the retina to the visual cortex while also connecting to the pineal gland, our third eye of spiritual sight. The oculomotor nerve-controlling eye movement works in concert with the trochlear and abducens nerves to facilitate the characteristic eye movements observed in deep meditative states and during activation of the Christ oil. The trigeminal nerve, largest of the cranial nerves, conducts sensation from the face and enables mastication. Its 3 branches correspond to the 3 primary energy centers of transformation: the claustrum, pineal, and pituitary glands. The facial nerve governs expression and taste, while the vestibulocochlear nerve maintains balance and hearing, all crucial aspects of expanded awareness. Deep within the cranium, the glossopharyngeal nerve influences swallowing and taste, while also monitoring blood pressure and oxygen levels. This nerve plays a vital role in the physical processes accompanying spiritual awakening. The vagus nerve, extending from brain to abdomen, integrates the body's major systems and facilitates the death and regeneration process of neural alchemy. The accessory nerve controls neck movement, allowing the head to align properly for optimal cerebrospinal fluid flow. The hypoglossal nerve governing tongue movement facilitates the ancient practices of tongue positioning that stimulate pituitary secretion and energy circulation. As consciousness expands through sustained practice, new neural pathways develop within the brain. This process of neuroplasticity literally rebuilds the physical architecture of the mind to accommodate higher awareness. The cranial bones themselves, though appearing solid, maintain subtle flexibility through their fibrous connections or sutures. These living joints allow for minute movements that influence cerebrospinal fluid flow and pressure dynamics. The crown chakra at the top of the head serves as the gateway for cosmic energy to enter the system. As the Christ oil rises through the spinal column to the cranial chamber, it generates electromagnetic changes that activate dormant areas of the brain. This activation progressively opens new neural territories, similar to how a developing child's brain creates new connections through learning and experience. The skull's sacred geometry embodies profound mathematical relationships found throughout nature. Its curves and angles create standing wave patterns in the cerebrospinal fluid that facilitate energy transmission. The cranial bones themselves can be seen as piezoelectric crystals, generating subtle electrical charges in response to pressure changes. This electrical activity helps coordinate the firing of neurons in patterns conducive to expanded states of consciousness. Through dedicated practice and proper preparation, the aspirant gradually develops these new neural pathways and energy circuits. The process requires patience, as the physical brain must literally rebuild itself to accommodate higher functioning. Yet with persistence, the upper room of the cranium becomes a living temple of transformation, where matter and spirit unite in the ultimate alchemy of consciousness. Alchemical transformation. The process of alchemical transformation within the human body represents one of the most profound mysteries of spiritual evolution. This transformation begins at the cellular level, where the sacred Christ oil initiates a cascade of regenerative processes that gradually alter the very fabric of our physical being. The transformation extends far beyond mere biological changes, encompassing energetic, psychological, and spiritual dimensions of human existence. At its core, cellular regeneration through neural alchemy involves the activation of dormant DNA sequences, sometimes referred to as junk DNA by conventional science. The Christ oil, when properly cultivated and circulated through the body's subtle energy systems, acts as a key that unlocks these dormant potentials. This activation process triggers a systematic upgrade of cellular function, beginning with the neurons in the brain and gradually extending throughout the entire nervous system. The energy center activation sequence follows a specific pattern that corresponds to the traditional chakra system, but with important distinctions related to the role of the Christ oil. The process begins in the sacral region, where the initial transformation of basic life force energy occurs. This transformed energy then rises through the spinal column, activating each center in turn while carrying the encoded information contained within the Christ oil. Each activation brings about specific physical and energetic changes, from enhanced glandular function to increased sensitivity to subtle energies. Physical transformations manifest in various ways as the alchemical process progresses. Many practitioners report changes in their sleep patterns, dietary needs, and energy levels. The body begins to require less food while maintaining higher energy levels, as it learns to derive sustenance more directly from pranic energy. The skin often becomes more luminous, and the eyes may develop a distinctive clarity or brightness. These outward changes reflect the deeper internal transformations taking place at the cellular level. The nervous system undergoes particularly significant changes during this process. Neural pathways are refined and optimized, leading to enhanced sensory perception and improved integration between the various systems of the body. The vagus nerve plays a crucial role in this transformation, serving as a primary conduit for the distribution of the Christ oil's regenerative properties throughout the body. This neural renovation results in a more refined and sensitive instrument for consciousness to express itself through the physical form. Spiritual integration represents the culmination of these various transformational processes. As the physical body becomes more refined through the action of the Christ oil, it becomes increasingly capable of holding and expressing higher frequencies of consciousness. This creates a positive feedback loop where enhanced physical refinement enables greater spiritual awareness, which in turn promotes further physical transformation. The end result is a being who exists in a state of dynamic balance between the material and spiritual realms. The transformation of consciousness that accompanies these physical changes is perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the alchemical process. As the Christ oil works its effects through the system, practitioners often report expanded states of awareness, enhanced intuitive abilities, and a deeper sense of connection to the universal consciousness. This expansion of awareness is not merely philosophical or theoretical, but is grounded in the actual physical changes occurring in the brain and nervous system. These alchemical transformations represent the practical manifestation of ancient spiritual teachings about the transformation of the human being into a more refined state of existence. The process validates the wisdom of traditional spiritual systems while providing a bridge to modern scientific understanding through its effects on measurable biological processes. This integration of ancient wisdom and modern knowledge creates a comprehensive framework for understanding human potential and the mechanisms of spiritual evolution. The ongoing nature of these transformations requires dedication and patience, as the process unfolds according to its own natural timing and the readiness of the individual. The changes occur in waves or cycles, with periods of intense transformation followed by periods of integration and stabilization. Understanding and working with these natural cycles is crucial for successful navigation of the alchemical process. Practical applications. The journey of neural alchemy culminates in the practical integration of these sacred principles into daily life. The transformation of consciousness through the activation of the Christ oil requires dedication, patience, and consistent practice. The methods outlined here represent time-tested approaches that bridge ancient wisdom with modern understanding. Meditation serves as the cornerstone of neural alchemical practice. Begin each day with a period of silent contemplation, focusing attention on the third ventricle region between the pineal and pituitary glands. This meditation activates the claustrum and initiates the production of sacred cerebrospinal fluid. Visualize golden light filling this space, allowing it to naturally flow downward through the spine. This practice, performed for 20-30 minutes daily, establishes the foundational energetic current necessary for transformation. Breathwork plays a crucial role in stimulating the vagus nerve and facilitating the upward flow of energy. The primary technique involves slow, deep breathing through the nose, with emphasis on extending the exhale. This activation of the parasympathetic nervous system creates the optimal internal environment for alchemical processes. Practice this breathing pattern throughout the day, particularly during moments of stillness or transition. Physical movement forms another essential component of the practice. Gentle spinal twists, forward bends, and backward arches help maintain the flexibility of the vertebral column, allowing for uninhibited flow of cerebrospinal fluid. These movements should be performed mindfully, with attention to the subtle sensations along the spine. Walking meditation, particularly in natural settings, helps integrate the body's rhythms with Earth's magnetic field, enhancing the alchemical process. Dietary considerations support the production and preservation of sacred fluids. Emphasize whole, living foods that provide the raw materials for hormonal and neurotransmitter production. Minerals, particularly zinc and selenium, play vital roles in pineal gland function. Reduce consumption of substances that calcify the pineal gland, such as fluoride and excessive processed foods. Intermittent fasting can accelerate the alchemical process by reducing metabolic demands and increasing cellular regeneration. Sound healing practices activate specific frequencies that resonate with the cranial system. Chanting, particularly of sacred vowel sounds, creates vibrations that stimulate the production and flow of cerebrospinal fluid. The use of singing bowls, tuning forks, or specific musical frequencies can enhance meditation practices and facilitate energy movement through the spinal pathway. Sleep patterns significantly influence the production of sacred oils. Align rest periods with natural circadian rhythms, allowing for maximum pineal gland activation during the darkness hours. Create a sleep environment free from artificial light and electromagnetic interference. This supports the natural production of melatonin and other transformative compounds. Energy exercises focus on directing and circulating the vital force through specific pathways. The microcosmic orbit technique guides energy up the spine and down the front of the body, creating a continuous flow that nurtures the entire system. Practice this circulation during meditation or as a standalone exercise throughout the day. Lifestyle modifications support the overall alchemical process. Regular exposure to natural sunlight, particularly during the morning hours, helps regulate pineal gland function. Grounding practices, such as walking barefoot on Earth, facilitate the exchange of electrons and support electromagnetic balance. Minimize exposure to artificial electromagnetic fields and maintain regular periods of digital detoxification. The integration of these practices creates a comprehensive approach to neural alchemy. Begin gradually incorporating one element at a time until it becomes natural and effortless. Pay attention to subtle changes in consciousness, energy levels, and physical sensations. Document experiences in a journal to track progress and identify patterns in the transformative process. Through consistent application of these methods, the sacred oils begin to flow more freely, leading to expanded awareness and spiritual awakening.